Sanmonani, my name is Nomakhwezi Becker, and I'm a poet, actress, theatre maker, I write, I'm also an arts administrator. Today I'm going to be reading excerpts from two books, one from a book written by one of my favorites, Estes, Women Who Run with the Wolves. This might be familiar to some. Contacting the Power of the Wild Woman. And then, of course, from Mawami, Dr. Mshope, Love Child, a poem from her. So I'll begin with Dr. Clarissa. Homing, returning to oneself. There is human time and there's wild time. When I was a child in the North Woods, before I learned there were 4 seasons to a year, I thought there were dozens. The time of nighttime, thunderstorms, heat lightning time, bonfires in the woods time, blood on the snow time, the times of ice trees, bowing trees, crying trees, shimmering trees, beaded trees, braided trees, waving at the tops only trees, the trees that drop down their babies time. I love the seasons of diamond snow, steaming snow, squeaking snow, and even dirty snow and stone snow, for these meant the time of flower blossoms on the river was coming. These seasons were like important and holy visitors, and each sent by its harbingers. Pine cones, open pine cones, closed, the smell of leaf rot, the smell of rain coming, crackling hair, lank hair, bushy hair, doors, loose doors, tight, doors that won't shut at all, window panes covered with ice hair, window panes covered with wet petals, window panes covered with yellow pollen, window panes pecked with sap gum, and our own skin had its cycles too, parched, sweaty, gritty, sunburned, soft. The psyches and souls of women also have their own cycles, and seasons of doing and solitude, running and staying, being involved and being removed, questioning and resting, creating and incubating, being of the world and returning to the soul place. When we are children and young girls, the instinctive nature notices all these phases and cycles. It hovers near us and we are aware and active at various intervals as we see fit. Children are the wildish nature, and without being told to, they prepare for the coming of these times, greeting them, living with them, and keeping from those times recuerdos, mementos, and for remembering the crimson leaf in the dictionary, the angel wing necklaces from the seeds of the silver maples, snowballs on the meat locker, the special stone, bone, stick, or pod, the peculiar shell, the ribbon from the bird burial, a diary of smells from that time, the calm heart, the excited blood, and all the pictures in their minds. Once we lived by these cycles and seasons, year after year, and they lived in us. They calmed us, danced us, shook us, reassured us, made us learn creaturely. They were part of our soul skins, a pelt that enveloped us in the wild and natural world, at least until we were told that there were really only 4 seasons to a year, and that women themselves really only had 3 seasons: girlhood, adulthood, and old womanhood. And that was supposed to be that. But we cannot allow ourselves to sleepwalk wrapped in this flimsy and unobservant fabrication, for it causes women to deviate from their natural and soulful cycles, and therefore to suffer from dryness, tiredness, and homesickness. It is far better for us to return to our own unique and soulful cycles regularly. All of them, any of them. The following story can be understood as a commentary on the most important of women's cycles: the returning to home, the wild home, the soul home. And then we move to Love Child. a poem from there called Sitting Alone Thinking. Lately, I have more than once found myself sitting alone thinking. Not that I have a lot of time just to sit and think. I'm a busy woman with a heavy schedule. I have to try and keep up with the fast-moving world around me. But then somehow it happens. Right in the middle of all the hustle and bustle, everything just stops. And I find myself sitting alone thinking. Would Mr. President be a better man if he had a womb and breasts full of milk? Would he be impressed by the number of children jailed, all in the name of peace, law, and order, if he had just one 10-year-old in jail? Would the smell of tear gas and bloody bullet wounds be so appetizing as to bring that familiar smile to the president's face if he had a womb and breasts full of milk? All these visions come up to me when I am sitting alone, thinking of my very best friend as she sits in a jail cell, longing for her little baby, her painful breasts full of milk. And so, on this World Read Aloud commemoration, I ask us to read things like this aloud, that remind us of where we're coming from, that remind us of all the seasons we have had and are yet to have and deserve to have. Seasons of grief as well as of joy, of play as well as of work, of leadership. So many times we think of the next woman president, hopefully one day. It's ridiculous that we're still in an age where it's a miracle when there's a woman president. But truly, we are the carers and the keepers of the world, whether we want to claim it or not. We've been given that. And hopefully one day we'll be given our rightful title as the leaders of so many homes, of so many lives, of our own lives, and one day of a nation. So throughout all the seasons of our lives, I cannot wait for the day that we rejoice to have a president who deserves their season of leadership in our government, of women who care for each other, of men who care for women, for children, of women who love their men in return because the men deserve that love and respect. So, whilst World Read Aloud Day could have been a flimsy thing that we think it's only about the act of reading and learning how to read and write, these are the worlds I'm talking about that we need to open, that will open our eyes and guide us into the future. Cherish these worlds, read them aloud, speak their lives into existence always. That's the only way to keep moving. Write them down. Listen to the worlds of your great-grandparents and grandparents and your mothers and fathers and aunts and uncles and sisters and cousins and brothers and your life. Write them down so one day people can look back and say, this is part of me. I matter too. And they will read themselves